For many people going through a spiritual awakening, we understand what vibration is and how important it is to maintain a healthy and aligned vibration, but we don't quite understand what our frequency is, or we mistake our vibration for our frequency. In this video, I'm going to be explaining the difference between our vibration and our frequency. Let's dive in. We could look at our vibration as the part of our energy field that is giving us moment-to-moment feedback about how we feel about ourselves and how we feel about our reality, as well as what level of thoughts that we are able to access regarding those specific feelings that we feel about ourselves and our reality. Because it's not most likely that we're able to access very high vibratory and empowering thoughts if we don't feel secure within ourselves and within this reality. So thoughts and feelings are the determinant factors in our vibration from a moment-to-moment perception. A vibration can be easily increased or easily decreased depending on what circumstances we're currently having within our life and how those circumstances make us feel about ourselves. Whereas our frequency is not dependent on moment-to-moment feelings, and our frequency is not dependent on what thoughts we are able to access in any one given moment. Our frequency, we could look at more like it's a savings account, whereas the vibration is more of what we're able to play around with when it comes to our finances every day. But what we put in our savings account, which is our frequency, is what is ours to keep. It's what's more important in the long run. Even now, this concept of frequency and vibration are never meant to be pitted against one another. It's simply meant for us to be able to discern the difference between these two. And so, when it comes to our frequency is how conscious we are and therefore how aware we are. So when you think of frequency, think of awareness. The higher awareness we are, the more conscious we are, the more self-awareness and aware we are about our reality, about reality in general. All of that feeds into our frequency. And the more we raise our frequency, the more that awareness creates psychic protection. So, frequency will naturally start to protect a person's being, no matter how much their vibration drops from moment to moment or every day, because frequency has to do with our spirit, whereas vibration has to do with our personality and what we're able to manifest in our reality, and what we're able to experience in our reality based on the emotions and the thoughts that we're currently accessing. Vibration is very important when it comes to our ability to manifest, which is why we hear so much within the spirit of this age about raising our vibration. There is nothing inherently wrong with wanting to raise our vibration. The issue is, though, that we have this really aggressive way sometimes we can go about it. It's very innocent, but we tend to want to raise our vibration at all costs, which means that we end up not wanting to look at the aspects of us that don't have a high vibe, or we want to deny and ignore aspects of our reality and aspects of ourselves that make us feel uncomfortable or we're afraid will bring up fear and therefore drop our vibration. So there's all sorts of different judgments that we place on our vibration that can end up accidentally strangling it into a lower state simply because we wish to raise it. And yet, when it comes to frequency doesn't even matter if you're in like a horrible state. It doesn't matter if you feel like crap about yourself or like crap about the world in that current moment or even in that current chapter of your life, because frequency is in it for the long haul. When it comes to our frequency, this has to do with activating our spiritual discernment. So frequency is how conscious and aware a being is, and that creates a feedback loop. What that feedback loop does is end up protecting us from metaphysical detrimental forces when we don't feel good or when we don't have our awareness specifically focused on trying to protect ourselves, such as when we're in sleep or when we're too busy in the day to freak out and be paranoid about things. In its most basic form, frequency refers to the number of times an event occurs in a specific amount of time. So it's the measurement of intervals from a wave's oscillation, and a wave's oscillation is what we call our vibration. This is why everyone thinks our frequency and our vibration are one and the same. But in the metaphysical context, frequency is no longer measuring the number of times a wave oscillates. Instead, our frequency contains the totality of our awareness, otherwise known as the totality of information that is stored inside the entire bandwidth of our energy field. Vibration is the physical manifestation of our resonant frequency, but it is not the totality of information inside our energy field. Vibration will always be in flux with the ebbs and flows of life. In fact, it is meant to oscillate or ebb and flow for that very reason. Our vibration is designed to gain the information contained within the peaks and lows of life. But what becomes integrated into our consciousness is ours to keep. It now becomes a part of our frequency. What most people really want is psychic protection, or they want to feel protected in some way, and they're regarding everything when it comes to protection from the fact that they're in a low vibratory state. Their vibration is currently in a state of fear or need some sort of fortification. They need some sort of protection, some buffer. And that's fine. But what's really going to do that has to do with our frequency. Our frequency is how aware we are. And once we put that awareness into our savings account, meaning once we become more knowledgeable, once we become more accepting of what we need to be aware of within ourselves, within our own psyche, as well as within the world, all of that ends up going into our psychic spiritual discernment. And that is what already starts putting that online. It starts operating without you consciously needing to be fixated on it or consciously needing to continuously do something in order to activate it. At a certain point, your frequency will just protect you, and you can just go about your life. And you could just not have to worry about it at all because, once again, you're putting it into a savings account. Anything that goes into raising your frequency, you can just bet was hard-earned. And if it was hard-earned, it was hard-won. So that already is going to be taken care of. You now, through that feedback loop, without you needing to take care of it, without you needing to maintain it. The hard part? You already did. You raised your frequency by becoming more aware. So our frequency will help us manifest, but it's not interested in helping us manifest in this current moment-to-moment time. Frequency is more so having to be linked with your purpose and more so a longer haul vision, something that has to do with your spiritual evolution. And at a certain point, your frequency will even start pulling manifestations into your field that you might not even know why you attracted in the first place, because your frequency has a higher vision, because it's coming now from your spirit and your higher self, whereas your vibration, once again, is based on your moment-to-moment reality and more based on your personality. And there's nothing wrong with that. So vibration is what is going to determine what we are able to manifest and what opportunities we are able to access in our moment-to-moment reality. And so feeling good and thinking positive and advantageous thoughts are all going to go into how we feel about ourselves, therefore how we feel about what we're capable of accessing in this world. And that's going to help us manifest and draw our manifestations forward quicker and stronger in that moment. But the issue becomes when we think that because our vibration currently isn't in full alignment and that we don't feel great about ourselves, that now we are separated from our manifestations. You don't know that. It depends. You could be in a category where you're only concerned about raising your vibration, and you're not concerned at all about incurring knowledge of self and knowledge of the world. If that is the category you find yourselves in, good luck, because that is not an advantageous category to be in. It's not only dropping your ability to magnetize to you in this now moment your manifestations, but it's also not building your frequency so that your frequency can start protecting you and start manifesting on behalf of you those larger and those more magnetizing and compelling timelines where you are in a state of purpose and a state of spiritual evolution while manifesting. So vibration has to do with how we feel and how we're able to access our opportunities and manifestations in this now moment. And that can also be, at the same time, how we're accessing knowledge about ourselves and awareness about the world. So as you can see, there are a few different categories that we can line up with here when it comes to our vibration and our frequency. If you feel like crap in your vibration, but you have a rising frequency and you're building a stronger frequency, that's fine. But if you're not concerned with raising your frequency, but you are very concerned with raising your vibration, that can sometimes come into a complication. And then we can feel good and raise our vibration through our thoughts and our emotions, as well as raise our self-awareness about ourselves in the world through our frequency. This would be ideal, but I wouldn't count on that just yet, depending on where a person is in their own spiritual evolution. This issue between our vibration and our frequency really comes into play largely when we're going through some sort of dark night of the soul that is bringing up within us a lot of things that don't necessarily feel good, or a lot of startling, confusing, intrusive, or even fearful thoughts. And so, we think because we're going through a very chaotic and confusing and even fearful period of our spiritual awakening that we don't feel like we have a high vibration, and therefore we're either not protected or aligned with better feeling timelines, when in reality, our frequency is being raised a lot at that moment. It's just that our vibration doesn't feel good while it's doing it. And that's what we're typically going to see the most when it comes to our frequency and our vibration. We're going to mainly see the times when we're raising our frequency and building that spiritual and psychic discernment actually be times in our everyday reality that are going to look like our vibration is in a really unstable state, a really chaotic state, because it's usually those times where we're going through a large either dark night of the soul or just a lot of an upgrade that things look the most unstable. And in reality, our frequency is raising in those moments the strongest. This is not meant to romanticize pain. It's simply meant for us to understand how the largest relationship when it comes to our frequency and our vibration is usually those times when our frequency is on the rise. And that's usually causing some sort of unstabilized factor in our current awareness for that larger awareness in the long run. And so we will be able to even out at a certain point to where we don't always have to have completely chaotic vibrational states in the current moment in order to raise our frequency higher. That doesn't always need to be the correlation between these two. But for a large part of a person's spiritual awakening, that dynamic is completely natural, and it's totally normal to be going through that. And as I said, when it comes to your frequency is what you get to keep. Your frequency is not dependent at all on how you feel and what you're thinking in a current moment. And because of that, that should be so liberating to know that no matter what we're thinking in a certain moment, yeah, that's going to affect our vibration. But that's not going to have any wear on our frequency, because whatever we're doing in this now moment is going to either be interpreted as building our frequency up and empowering our frequency or not nourishing that frequency. And that will depend on if your thoughts and if your emotions are actually ones that are helping build your knowledge and build your awareness, or if they're ones that are solely determined on the external world and from a very egoic perception about what you want to manifest or what you want to bring to your field without any care at all as to what that means for your growth, for your spirit, and for your evolution. I hope this will help you to raise your vibration and your frequency and the difference between the two. Make sure to subscribe to my channel for higher dimensional guidance through spiritual awakening. See you next time.